Welcome back, DIVEBOMB IndyCar Podcast. Obviously, we had a very great Christmas special last week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't given it a listen, give it a listen now because it was a very fun episode. Maybe our best ever today. Looking at Boxing Day, we're just going to go a quick roundup over the news of the last couple of weeks. The main one being that Sting Ray Robb is going to be joining Foyt Racing ahead of the 2024 season. We'll have a little discussion on this and then we'll revisit the interview we did with him back in June. First of all, let's react to the Robb news. So what's our thoughts on him switching over from Dale Coyne to Foyt Racing for 2024?
I'm really happy for him. I mean, I often speak about the fact that drivers deserve a couple of years when they're coming into a series. I think Robb himself has noted that he feels like he does better in sophomore years. I think in his words, he said, "I don't have the sophomore slump." So yeah, it's simply the fact that some drivers take longer to adapt, and the first season should be allowed for that. I know some drivers come in and take series by storm, but that's not always going to be the case. And that if there is a sort of errant first year at times, that doesn't mean a driver, isn't in the right place in the series. Let's say, I think Robb has mentioned. I think he mentioned to us actually that sort of the off-track duties were quite a shock to the system as well as the on-track adjustments. So it is clear that he was having to adapt to quite a lot of stuff. But yeah, it clearly hasn't happened for him at Coyne, but he brings a big budget and Foyt is maybe a little bit of a step up given the Penske alliance, which makes it quite an attractive option. And I don't know, Sting Ray at Penske in a few years. Can't write anything off yet if he really does catch the eye.
I was going to say, I agree. I feel like I'm very happy for him in the fact that he's got a second year. I feel like rookies who kind of don't have them 2 years, it's just unfair to kind of deal with that. I feel like the first year is made for, the mistakes is made for them to, adapt to the car, deal with that and kind of learn their driving style in this car. And the second year is kind of where they shine through. So I feel like I'm very happy that he can get that, and hopefully he'll have a better season than he did then last year and he can keep on improving.
I thought it was a bit of a last-minute move to Foyt. We kind of felt the general trend was him going towards Coyne. Are we surprised to see him at Foyt? Are we intrigued? What's our reaction to him switching team?
It's certainly interesting. I think, as I mentioned, there's the whole budget thing, which will have played a part. But I think it's unfair to say a driver's only somewhere because of their budget. I think Larry Foyt spoke about the fact that, Robb had caught his eye, his name and his driving as he sort of came up through the ranks. So, yeah, I mean, I think for Robb, it's an upwards move by a very short amount. I think for Foyt, it's hard to say whether it's a sideways move yet without seeing what Robb can deliver in his second year. Obviously, second year of Indy Lights, he finished second in the championship, so that's promising if you're looking at how he may perform in a second year. I still think this will be a crucial year for him. It's not clear whether it's multi-year, but I think now he maybe feels a little bit more settled in the series. It's an Indy-based team in this new number 41 car, which is the reverse of the iconic number 14, which I think is their rationale. So, he's able to work at close quarters with the team, which he didn't necessarily have at Coyne, and it didn't always seem like they were on the same page. For instance, there were quite a lot of, maybe errors, sort of long pit stops and stuff. And maybe that masked a few improvements from Robb kind of through the year. There was an upward trajectory through 2023. I think there were less errors. It culminated, obviously, in finishing 12th in that chaotic Laguna Seca race. So it's a decisive year ahead, but I like the move. I think it's different setting, and obviously Foyt have strong cars at the 500. Robb says he expects some top 10s. He didn't meet his expectations in 2023, so I kind of feel he has to meet these expectations that he has of himself this year if he is maybe to have a future. But yeah, I think it's good for him and possibly good for the team as well if the big budget he supposedly has could, maybe enable options for the team that don't necessarily bring money.
Did we ever think there was a point where we wouldn't see Robb on the grid next year? Do you think sort of his early season performances put him under pressure?
I think it crossed my mind at least a little bit. I think just with it getting a little kind of later on in the year, it hadn't been announced and kind of. But I know that we discussed it before, being whether or not he was going to get us a seat. So it crossed my mind, but not in a way that he's some kind of like bad?
I think early in the year there were definitely doubts surrounding Rob. Obviously, he had quite a lot of incidents, made a few errors early on. But I think sort of post Indy 500, there was definitely that sort of upturn. So, I mean, it's clear. I think he's done a lot of work off track to kind of build the budget to, have a ride and prove to teams that, he can bring them the money that they need to kind of operate the cars. And yeah, I think it did definitely cross my mind that he couldn't be on, that he may not be on the grid, but I think at the end of the day, it's just and it's fair that he does get a second chance.
Yeah, and AJ Foyt and Coyne tend to be the most unpredictable seats in the market. So it was obviously a bit of a late call up, and we were fortunate enough to ask Sting Ray in the press conference if he thought he was going to be on the grid and if there was any risk for him. So well done, guys. Congratulations on the announcement today. Good to see you coming back into next year. So Sting Ray, first of all, for you, obviously great to see you back for another season. Obviously, it was great for you to secure your future. Did you think at any point maybe your future wasn't secure and you wouldn't be on the grid? And how sort of relieving is it for you to be on the grid for next year?
Thoughts always pop into your head going into an off season when you haven't signed already. But for myself, I know that God's had a plan for my career all along the way, and we've seen too many miracles along the way to doubt that plan. So, I know where my identity is lied all along the way, and I know that racing doesn't mean everything to me, but it's what I want to do and it's what I have a passion for. And so to be able to attend another season in the IndyCar series is another dream. I mean, we can check that off. So, I posted last year about, 5-year-old Sting Ray Robb getting his first go-kart and dreaming about being an IndyCar driver one day. And that last year was that dream becoming a reality. And I feel that same way this year. That passion, that fire that 5-year-old kid had is the same feeling I have today. And so for me going to my second year, I feel that even probably more so just because there's a lot of growth available to us and the team is super strong and they're getting better and I'm going to get better as well. So to be here and with the team this year, I'm very excited.
Obviously, we mentioned that Sting Ray is a driver who tends to progress in his second year, and he said even mid-season when we spoke to him that he was still learning, and you could see that progression by the end of the season. And we were able to ask him, in addition, what he had learned most from his rookie season. Obviously, you had your rookie season last year, and you kind of said it took you a while to gain some consistency, to gain a strong weekend throughout the entire weekend. But obviously, it was a clear improvement towards the end of the season, ended off really well at Laguna Seca. What things you can take most from last season coming into next season with Foyt?
I mean, how to deal with chaos, because that last race of the year was all chaos, but that was our best finish. And so, there was so much learned throughout the year. I mean, confidence levels increased, how to deal with people on and off the racetrack was so much better throughout the season. So, I learned a lot about myself too. That racing has the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And so if you don't have something to lean on in between those events, where you have those bad days and the good days, it's going to be really tough. And so, I feel like I'm doing better personally, just as a human, dealing with adversity as well as learning how to apply that to being a better IndyCar driver.
So that gives us a bit of a question mark. So Rob's moving over to Foyt, which did kind of feel a bit last minute. It wasn't really talked about too much, but that's going to happen. Now it just remains what's happening with the second car. Now, this is where we encounter a potential problem. The expectation was Benjamin Pedersen. He signed a 2-year contract. He still very much expects to be in the car. He put a statement out saying he's looking forward to working with Sting Ray. Larry Foyt, on the other hand, wasn't so assured that Pedersen would be in that seat. He didn't say Pedersen wouldn't be in the seat, but he didn't seem particularly confident over it, which might leave us a bit of an issue there. The second seat, the general consensus is they want to get Ferrucci in. I think Rob brings enough of a budget to cover Ferrucci coming back, but we might get into a bit of a messy situation here.
Yeah, I think when we got the news that there was an announcement pending, we half expected them to just confirm their entire lineup. I mean, it has been confirmed that they'll be sticking with 2 cars, but it's only one driver that has been announced. And it's not one of last year's drivers, which obviously means that one of them will certainly not be there full time next year. Pedersen, with his statement, has laid claim to that second seat, but that came hours after team president Larry Foyt had told the media that there were still things to sort with that second seat. So you would imagine Ferrucci, having finished third in the Indy 500 as the highlight of his 2023 would be the one that the team want to keep hold of. But it's a very sort of contradictory statement from Pedersen that suggests something maybe a little awry and disconnected within the team. You can't imagine they would have signed Robb without, the word of the 55 car, which Pedersen ran in 2023, going essentially and being replaced by the 41. It begs the question, really. Is there any break clause in the Pedersen deal? Teams seem to like them for security, just in case drivers want to move on. If not, then that's where problems could possibly arise.
Yeah, there's been suggestions of a split campaign with Ferrucci running the ovals, potentially Pedersen run the road courses as a sort of 50-50 split, but it's a messy situation, and that's going to be one of the stories over this never-ending silly season, it seems. I think the other bit of the equation is you have to look from the coin perspective, because we expected Robb to be in one of those seats. So what happens now? You've had Teo Pourchaire, he's off to Super Formula, Enzo Fittipaldi's in F2. You've got Robb going to Foyt, Callum Ilot's going to the World Endurance Championship. So does that leave us with Frost and Di Francesco pretty much assured, do we think? Or is there still scope for them to do something different?
Kind of still scope for anything to happen, you feel, really. It's hard to say who's going to kind of come into the frame there. I mean, we obviously said Robb was one that we kind of expected with the budget. We definitely didn't see Foyt being where he ended up. There's still not necessarily much in terms of like pointers, let's say, as to what could end up happening at Coin, to be quite honest.
That's a tough one. They've known to go left field. They had Grosjean last minute, they've had Pelot, so maybe they could take another left field call. I think Frost will probably be one of those seats. But I'm just getting, it's really hard to say, even with us just over 2 months away from St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I mean, could Pedersen end up there even if all of a sudden there is this fracture at AJ Foyt? But I feel like Foyt is the seat that's probably more desired. Obviously, Robb said that it's really valuable, or he expects it to be really valuable, the Penske Alliance. So clearly that seat will be more sought after, you would think, than a Coin seat, albeit the 18 car that Malukas ran had some pretty good results last year, or this year.
Quickly touching the Penske Alliance, that's obviously a slightly different conversation, but the Indy 500 is particularly strong. The road course form was good at times, but it wasn't anything to shout home about. But it did improve towards the end of the season. I think Robb was probably slightly stronger on the road courses than he was the ovals, as a general thing from last year. So I think that's going to be quite significant in helping him improve his oval form, and Penske's only going to elevate him on the road courses, and he's pretty confident they can do well in the 500. Pedersen was pretty strong at the 500, qualified within the fast 12, so there's definitely hope there for Robb to hopefully avoid the bump day he was in last year.
I mean, it was quite interesting in the end that they actually seem to have their best weekends Foyt on the repaved Laguna. They were really strong before Ferrucci had that incredible off-track excursion and save after, I think, McLaughlin ran into him on the straight or something. So they have shown promise. They just need to really pull it together more often. And yeah, obviously the 500, they had some good cars. I think, Robb's going to have to improve his oval form. It's quite difficult. First oval race, obviously, being the 500. There's no Texas to get yourself primed, although obviously there is the vast amount of testing and practice time. So, I think it'll be interesting to see how Robb fares, given he probably had his weakest performances on the ovals last year, but he's now coming to a team who, on super speedways, were super strong.
So we'll see what Foyt do at mid-Ohio next year. What are we predicting? 1-2? That's right.
1-2, yep.
If they're unconfirmed.
Double fast six at least.
Yeah. So we obviously mentioned the Penske Alliance is going to be quite significant and how strong they were at the 500. So we also spoke to Larry Foyt to see what he thought and the Penske Alliance would bring to them in 2024. For Larry, obviously last season showed some great improvements, especially at the Indianapolis 500. looking towards 2024, how are you going to sort of replicate that form on road courses more often? Is the Penske alliance going to be significant into improving that?
Well, I hope so. Working together and just hopefully as a team, we continue to improve. I mean, that's it. But definitely, I think having just more information will be helpful. And I think there were some tracks we gained on for sure last year, and some places that we need to work on. So that's where we've got, like I say, some new engineers that have joined as well that have some ideas. So just excited to get testing. We'll see kind of where that shakes out, but definitely just want to improve overall.
So there we are. There's our roundup on the AJ Foyt news. That's going to be a story we're going to be looking at quite a lot between now and St. Petersburg. There is a car to be announced. What will happen with Benjamin Pedersen? Who will be in that car? What happens to Dale Coyne? So those are some key stories to follow, 3 stories to follow during the off season. Now we're going to pass over to Sting Ray. We're going to revisit our interview in June, just so you can get to know the man a little bit better, a bit more personal information about him, and sort of him recapping the early stages of his IndyCar career. Driver of the 51 Dale Coyne Racing with Foyt Racing car, Sting Ray Robb. Sting Ray, welcome to the podcast. Nice to have you on. How are you feeling?
Yep. Feeling all right. We just survived a weekend at Detroit, so happy with that and happy to go to a track that I've been to now, at Road America coming up here soon, and somewhere that I've loved being at in the past, and with the new repave, it should be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I appreciate it's probably a question you get asked quite a lot, but just for our newer viewers and people getting into IndyCar, you already know what I'm going to ask.
Do you want me to start? I don't even need to do that.
Where have you got the name from?
Yeah, so the story goes, and I usually cover up my Honda logo while I'm saying this, but my parents were big Corvette fans, so they decided to name me after the Sting Ray Corvette. But there's also a longer side of the story, which is kind of the heritage side. My dad's side of the family is from Stirlingshire, Scotland, or at least his heritage is. And so Sting is actually short for Sterling. And then both of my grandfathers had Ray in their name, and so it's kind of a combination deal, and they got Sting Ray out of it.
Cool. Interesting. There we are. For all of you wondering how the most epic man in motorsports got his name, there you are.
Yeah, so onto the racing. How did you find Detroit? The new track, the split pit lane. How did you find it?
Oh, man. It was first year issues, I think, were a big storyline of the weekend. But the actual layout was actually quite fun. You have the long straightaway leading down to a hairpin, which was a good passing zone. It just was unfortunate that it was so bumpy offline there. There was only really one lane that you could drive on without, having to worry about breaking a damper or shock, whatever else. But the actual race itself, I was expecting more attrition. I thought that we'd see a lot more full course cautions, but it was really, really tough for some reason. I don't think everyone had this issue, but there were a few cars that weren't able to kind of switch the tires on. And we saw Graham Rahal go into the wall under the caution flag. And quite honestly, it was crazy because I had the very similar experience. I didn't hit the wall, but when the tires cooled down just a small amount, it took so long to get them back up to temp. And even if you were, a ways behind the lead pack, you couldn't catch them under the caution flag just because the tires would not turn on. They wouldn't get that heat back. So it's kind of a crazy phenomenon I haven't seen before. And obviously in the lower series, the tires are more consistent with just the single compound, shorter race distance. But the actual track service there at Detroit was many different variables going into that. You had water blasted concrete and asphalt, and then you also had old asphalt, then you had new asphalt, then you had new concrete and old concrete. So it was just like a wide range of different aggregates that led to the corners being very diverse, and the bumps at apexes of turns and on the exit of turns. It added some craziness to it all.
So which type of track do you prefer? Do you prefer street, road, or ovals? And which one of them is your favorite, race to do?
Yeah, I think I like permanent road courses the best, especially ones with a lot of elevation change. And I'm going to give the typical racer answer. I like tracks that I win at. So my most recent win was at Laguna Seca last year in the Indy Next Championship. And obviously that's a kind of legendary track with the corkscrew and many different levels of elevation change there. And I just love the sort of feedback you get from a car on a track like that.
Absolutely. So you just obviously mentioned one iconic track. You've just come back from Indianapolis, obviously for your first Indy 500. Obviously, the drama started for you on the Saturday, unfortunately, came back on the Sunday. But kind of how was the whole bumping experience coming back for that second day, then kind of the relief in qualifying for the race?
Yeah, it's definitely not a position that you want to be in as a driver. But looking back, I think I got to appreciate the 500 a little bit more just because it made you kind of see the whole picture of what Indy's about. You know, you're fighting for the top 33 spots in the world to be an IndyCar driver. And so, you know, it's very dramatic and stressful going into that Sunday. You don't want to be the guy that gets bumped. And, you know, for myself, I thought that we were going to be in a better position with my teammate. He figured it out in the last run of the day. We were both almost in that last chance qualifier together, which is frustrating as a team. But, you know, I think it was really cool to kind of see the press that you get from being a last row qualifier. You know, they did the last row party, which essentially is just a roast, and go up on a stage and make fun of you, which was kind of fun, make light of it all. But yeah, the whole event, the month of May was pretty incredible.
Yeah, you must have been relieved seeing you have that good first run and seeing the other two rails battling out. You must have been, phew. Yeah, we did a good job to put two cars behind us instead of just one. Had we been on that bubble, I think I would have been a bit more nervous.
Yeah, so onto the race. It maybe didn't end how you wanted your first 500 to end, but what was that experience like for you, and sort of how much did it mean just to be starting the race? How emotional was that for you personally?
Yeah, like I said, I think because I was a last chance qualifier, it made me appreciate everything a little bit more. But I'm going to say that there's nothing that can prepare you for the 500. You know, there's so much that goes on around it. Just the intro of the drivers and the flyover and the playing the taps and everything ahead of time, national anthem. You know, it's one of those things where it's an emotional experience just as much as it is like a performance. And so it's kind of cool to see both sides of that, because I was a fan before I was a driver, and to be a part of it, I think that I kind of lost the emotional side as much as I did. Being a driver now, I feel like I was more focused on what was ahead. But the actual race was pretty chaotic. You know, there's just a lot going on out there. And when you're doing 240 miles an hour, things happen pretty quick. And the day didn't end as we wanted, but we were fighting hard. You know, we had some issues in the first two stints of our race, cording some left front tires, which was unusual. And so we were trying to deal with that, but it was just overall, I think a great learning experience. You know, for a rookie driver, there's not often times that you get to spend that much seat time in the car. They were under the wrong conditions, I'll say, to be a last chance qualifier and have to do the extra runs like that. But I did get some valuable seat time.
So obviously, there's so much surrounding the Indy 500 as a whole, and like you pretty much live there for the decent part of May. How did you find the whole build-up through practice and the race day traditions?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. You know, Indy is very unique in the sense that we're there for weeks ahead of the race. Excuse me. And the fans in the city are what makes the event so special. You know, I think that when you come to Indianapolis, you're not just there for the race, you're there for the culture experience. And so to say that Indianapolis is the racing capital of the world, I don't think is an understatement, because the people really rally around the whole event. You know, for 2 weeks leading up to the race, you'll see people throwing porch parties with checkered flags on their front porch and their favorite driver's name sitting out on their front lawn. And so it's kind of cool to see the fan base growing here in Indianapolis and kind of see how they show up at the track. And, you know, day one rolls around for the month of May, and you sign more autographs in that one day than you do in the previous 3 races combined. So it is really cool to see how excited everyone is, and the buildup is, you know, all part of the fun.
Yeah, and sort of on that, how did you actually spend all of the time at the track when you weren't on track and maybe weren't doing media commitments? Because obviously there was a lot of stuff on social media about the pickleball competitions. Were you involved in that?
No, I didn't do the pickleball. I actually took that night off as our one night off that we got. So I wanted to just relax. I ended up reading a book and drinking some tea and calling it a night. So it was pretty good to have a day off there.
Yeah. So going back to the season as a whole, how has your rookie experience been so far? Because maybe it hasn't been the smoothest start, but I suppose, have you learnt a lot from your first few races?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think coming into the season, I had higher expectations than what we've succeeded at so far. You know, rolling off at St. Pete with a 16th place, even with all the craziness that was going on there, with cars flying through the air and everything else, I thought we did a good enough job to survive and finish the race well. And then from there, I think that our next best shot at something was at Barber. And I felt really, really good going to the Barber race. In the morning warm-up, we were running top 10 for most of the session, top 15 by the end. And that was on race pace, green tires and black tires. And so the red tires there, the alternates and the primaries. And so for myself, that was the first time I'd said that I actually felt like an IndyCar driver. I felt like that I was doing my job and felt like I could go race with the best of them there. But that race obviously got cut short with a mechanical failure. And so for myself, I think that kind of took the wind out of our sails a little bit, and the next few races just didn't go our way. And so I'm glad that the month of May is over, because that was all not the experience that I wanted. And I have learned a lot through it all. And, I think that we're kind of in a spot now where we can kind of focus on tracks that we know, Road America being the next one. Even with the new pavement, it allows us to, have a baseline. As a rookie driver, it's hard to have a baseline and understand, okay, these are the things that we're looking for, the nuances here, there, whatever else. And so for myself, I'm looking forward to the tracks where I'm like, okay, I can settle in. I know what the expectation is. I know what to be looking for. And I can get a car that I know can be competitive around there. So I'm excited for that. I think it'll be fun.
So obviously it's your rookie year and you are teammates with Lil Dave Malukas. Obviously he had exactly the same experience as you would have done last year. So how is it learning from someone who's gone through that experience? And is Dave probably the driver closest to the paddock, or is there anyone else you say you're strong with?
Yeah, no, David's been awesome as a teammate. It's kind of funny too, because like you said, last year we had similar experiences what I'm having now, but we also finished second in the Indy Next Championship in consecutive years, and we also grew up go-karting together. And so it's kind of cool to see how our paths just keep lining up the further up the ladder we get. And, he's a great driver, and I think someone that is underrated in the series, but also he gets a lot of press attention, which is kind of cool to see. And I think that comes from the podium that he got last year at Gateway. And it's kind of cool to see those brilliant moments where he had success, and he also had some tough races. And so it's been kind of cool to see him encouraging me through it all. He understands the rookie aspect of it. And so it's been nice to be able to have someone that has that recent experience and it's applicable, and things that they've learned so recently, they've moved on from and said, okay, this is the expectation now. This is what I did differently, and this is what you can do differently. It's pretty nice to have. And obviously David's a good character, someone that is funny and easy to get along with. And so it's nice to have him in the engineering room kind of cheering us on.
So I read somewhere that you got your first go-kart around the age 5. Since that point, Did you always know that that's something that you wanted to do? And what did your family think of that?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the whole story here. But when I was 4 years old, I watched Travis Pastrana, who is a multi-motorsport athlete. He's, done supercross, motocross, rally racing, NASCAR, and he's good at everything he does. But I watched him on a Nitro Circus video jump a go-kart into a foam pit. And the 4-year-old me saw that and went, oh, that's what I want to do. And so I asked my parents for a go-kart and a foam pit. But for my 5th birthday, I did not get a foam pit, but I still got the go-kart. So we ended up going racing from there. But, most kids, I think that they want to be a baseball player, and then they change up. They want to be a veterinarian, and then they change it up. And they want to be a police officer, and then they want to be a fireman. And there's just stages that you move through as a kid, I think. And, some things stick, some things don't. But for myself, from day one, even when I was 3 years old, I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a race car driver. And I think my parents initially thought that was just a stage I was moving through, because I'd grown up around, the Corvette Club meetings, the drag races, autocross events that they were going to. So that's what I knew. But once we started karting, I didn't leave that stage. That 5-year-old kid is still the same person I am today. I'm still stuck in that stage of wanting to be a race car driver. And so it is kind of cool to see how the passion has grown over the years instead of, kind of twinkling out. So yeah, it's been very good.
So before every race, do you have a certain pre-race routine? Is there any superstitious stuff that you do, or what do you do before a race?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily superstitious. Some things that I do find very useful before a race, because our races are quite long, are get some good food, a snack of some sort, but usually I'm not very hungry right before a race because I'm so nervous. And then a bathroom break. The most common question I get from people is, so you're in the car for 3 hours. What do you do when you have to go to the bathroom? You got to plan around it. Just got to get it over with, get it out of the way ahead of time. That way you're not dealing with it during the race. But another thing that I really like to do is I like to pray with my family before I go out on track. It's a time when I can kind of experience the support that they have for me, and also just kind of gets centered around what really matters. And, for myself, I think that's kind of the time when they kind of pass the torch off of like, okay, we've done our job. Now it's time to perform. And, I think that outside of that, those are kind of the essentials for me to get ready to get in the car. And then kind of funny, being an American, I always get in on the left side of the car instead of the right side because that's just the correct thing to do in my brain. But yeah.
So something we've spoken about quite a lot in our early stages on this podcast is the popularity of IndyCar and how maybe it doesn't get the praise it deserves compared to the likes of Formula One. What would you say to someone who maybe doesn't watch IndyCar, and what do you think stands out so much about IndyCar that makes the racing so good, and really why the series deserves more popularity than it has at present?
Yeah, that's a great question. First off, I think that IndyCar is underrated just because we race on multiple different kinds of tracks. We do ovals, we do street courses, we do road courses. You look at other open wheel series and they're usually just doing road and like partial street courses where they're specifically designed to be super smooth, super flat, very much inside the FIA rule standards. And IndyCar, we saw this last weekend in Detroit. It's kind of like, well, I think it'll work. Let's go do it. Let's go race. And so for anyone that's a racing fan, I think IndyCar is a true racing series. You can have multiple teams win. You can have multiple drivers going for a championship. And it leads to great battles on the track. And I think that that's not too often seen, with the different tires, compounds, and different strategies that go into a race. And when caution flags come out, with the car count that we have, you have to be more than just good. You can be the best driver on the grid that day and still not win the race. You can have the best car and still not win. You got to have everything come together, come into alignment, and it's still going to be a hard time. So I think that for anyone that's looking at getting into a racing series, watch IndyCar because you never know what's going to happen. The racing is so great and so competitive, and there's some great characters. With the new 100 Days to Indy series coming out, it's kind of cool to see the product that IndyCar puts out. It doesn't need the extra dramatization. It is just a great product to show as is. And so for myself, that's kind of fun because I'm a race fan as well. And so I enjoy watching all the products and the media around the series that I'm now driving in, even though I'm a driver in it.
So obviously you mentioned some of your favourite tracks, so you said kind of like Laguna Seca amongst others. But if you could drive an IndyCar, any track worldwide, what would you pick?
Oh, man. Spa is one that comes to mind immediately. I love Eau Rouge, and I got to go see it when I was around the age of 14. We had a go-kart race out in Belgium, and I got to watch Michael Schumacher's Ferrari Championship F1 car go around, and it was like kind of sprinkling, kind of like a dramatic, ominous kind of cloud cover and mist, and it was just really cool to hear that engine roaring up the Eau Rouge there. And there's nothing like that. You get the old F1 spec motors in there, and it's just crazy sounds, awesome sounds.
Yeah, so this is a podcast, so it's not all going to be racing questions. What we are planning is, if we manage to get some more drivers on, to make a playlist with maybe a couple of songs from each driver. What two songs maybe are your favorite songs, or would you recommend adding to this playlist?
So are we going old or new? Because I am a sucker for old country music, like Marty Robbins. I actually have a vintage playlist right here. I'm looking at it. So if you want old music, let's see. I'm scrolling through here. Marty Robbins, Big Iron is one.
Cool.
And then a newer song that has come out recently and that I've been enjoying. It's by an artist named Forrest Frank. And some people know he's from a band called Surfaces. And so they have a few songs that are pretty popular out there. But No Longer Bound and Lift My Hands are two of his newest ones that I can't get out of my head. They're stuck in my head 24/7. I'll wake up in the middle of the night singing them for no reason. It's like I haven't listened to them in 3 days on purpose, and I'm still singing them. So those are some of the ones I listen to most often.
Brilliant.
So just for everyone to get you know you a bit more, I can ask you some questions relating to some random things, sort of a quick fire stuff. So first of all, which IndyCar driver out of everyone has the worst fashion sense?
Santino Ferrucci.
Interesting.
This is a really important question. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Yeah or no?
Pineapple does belong on pizza.
Cancel Sting Ray Robb, everyone, right here. That is end of his IndyCar career.
Did you tell me you don't like Hawaiian pizza? I love Hawaiian pizza. That's top tier pizza right there.
I'm sorry, I cannot agree. What is your favorite flavor of crisp, or as you'd call it out in the States, your favorite chip, your potato chip?
Chip.
Favorite flavor.
Favorite flavor crisp is probably salt and vinegar or ketchup. There's been a lot of Canadians bringing the ketchup chips to America lately, and those are pretty good. Those are really good.
I'm glad to say you've recovered yourself a bit there, so maybe we can keep you for a bit longer. You've been in IndyCar a little while now. You've got used to the personality of some of your drivers. In Indianapolis, you saw you wearing some very fancy glasses, it must be said. Sort of goggles glasses. So which of the current drivers would you trust the least with that pair of glasses?
Oh. Like, who do I think would destroy him first? I'm going to say Devlin DiFrancesco.
Interesting. If you were
Devlin's a great dude. Don't get me wrong. I love that guy. So I trust him with things, but my pair of glasses that are unique, I think that he would want to keep them for himself.
You were stranded on a desert island with another IndyCar driver. Who are you choosing to be stuck with?
So I actually recently had this question asked, and I said Alexander Rossi because he was on The Amazing Race with Connor Daly. And I specifically remember laughing more at Connor than I did at Alex because Alex had it together and knew what he was doing, and Connor was an absolute disaster. So I would pick Alex. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it depends on how long you were going to be on the island. If you want a good time, I'd probably take Connor. But if you want to survive, probably Alex.
And who would you pick to rescue you and Alex from the island?
Oh, man, who's reliable? Scott Dixon, the Iceman.
Scott Dixon, yes. Great
Always
choice.
good under pressure.
Absolutely. So one more final question. When I say question, it's more of a challenge. As we get more IndyCar drivers on, we're going to do some little challenges with them. So the first of all is going to be the 60-second challenge. So it's your rookie season. It's the first ever time you're going to be in IndyCar, and it's going to be a very memorable moment for you. So in 60 seconds, I want you to name as many drivers from the 2023 field. This can include one-off entries and the replacement drivers. Sting Ray Robb, are you ready?
Yes.
Right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Alex Palou, Marcus Ericsson, Scott Dixon, Marcus Armstrong, Takuma Sato, Alexander Rossi, Felix Rosenquist, Pato O'Ward, David Malukas, Sting Ray Robb, Graham Rahal, Jack Harvey, Christian Lundgaard, Joseph Newgarden, Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, Benjamin Pedersen, Santino Ferrucci, Catherine Legg, R.C. Enerson, Colton Herta, Roman Grosjean, Devlin DiFrancesco, Kyle Kirkwood, and oh shoot, who else is there? Callum Ilott, Augustine Canapino. Oh man, I think that's everyone. I think that's all I got.
2 seconds. That's all you've got. That's all you've got. Absolutely fine. There were so many I couldn't count all of them, but just
I think there was like 26.
I'll embarrass you some there. Ryan Hunter-Ray, Tony Kanaan.
Oh yes, I forgot the 500 guys.
Ben Pedersen. Don't know if you said Ben Pedersen.
I did say Ben.
Carpenter, VK, Daly, all the ECR boys.
I forgot the Carpenter boys. I forgot.
Sometime up here,
I forgot the Meyer Shank boys as well. Yeah.
Sometime on the screen here, there'll be a score of what Sting Ray got. We'll see if any other drivers can beat them. Fortunately, we've got to wrap up Sting Ray now, and that's all the time we've got. But Sting Ray, thank you for coming on. Been a really enjoyable chat with you, and hopefully we'll see you more on the track in Road America and for the rest of the season.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on, Danny, Archie, and Ellie. You guys are awesome.
So there we are. There is Sting Ray Robb reviewing his early stages of his IndyCar career. Friend of the podcast, Sting Ray, we wish you the best of luck going into 2024 with your new step with AJ Foyt Racing. So that's us done for 2023. Thank you for all of you who've listened along. Thank you for listening to some Boxing Day, a nice little Boxing Day relaxation. I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, please listen to the Christmas special if you're still in the festive mood. An absolutely brilliant episode. I think we'll all say it was our favourite that we've ever done. So please do give that a listen if you haven't already. And that's us done for 2023, as we said. Most importantly, we hope you have a very, very happy new year. And look out in the new year. something very, very special is going to kick off our new year. Keep an eye on our socials on Instagram and Twitter at Project DIVEBOMB. Keep your eye out because something very, very special is going to kick us off in 2024. We hope to see you then.